Okay, so let's kind of dive into the topic of today. We haven't done
Sounds
this
good.
in a year, or is it 2 years now? The
No,
last time
I
we talked
think
about
I
this
think we did
video.
one last year, right?
I think it was last year.
I think 2019 we did one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess you want to introduce yourself, who you are, and what you do, and then we'll go from there. And I'll
Yeah.
do the same.
Sure. Well, for everyone out there, my name is David Lee. I'm a cinematographer. I own my own production company, Legendary Media House. We do a lot of commercial films, branded content, sort of like documentary style, if you will. And also have a YouTube channel at David Lee where I put up a lot of reviews and tutorials online for you guys to consume and hopefully
Mm,
learn something from and make you guys better, as I get better too. Yeah.
awesome. And I'm Joshua Martin. I'm a content creator and filmmaker as well. I work for the University of Notre Dame full time, and I run Joshua Martin Studios, which is a production company as well who makes branded content. But more recently, we're moving towards documentary slash narrative work, just because that's the type of work I want to create. So today we're going to be talking about SLR Magic, kind of like a follow-up video from our first video we did last year. But now it's just kind of revisiting because both of us have updated some of our lineup. We've used some new lenses from SLR Magic, and we kind of just wanted to talk about a few of the things that people ask a lot too. I guess we can touch on that. I know there's some few things that I have in mind, but we're going to talk about our experiences, what these lenses compare to, and yeah. Great job on the list because I never wrote anything in it, but I think it hits all the points. It should hit all the
100%.
points, yeah.
100%.
So what's the first one actually? Let me pull it up. Can I split screen this?
Oh, you can share screen, I think.
I'm gonna just split screen this here and bring it up. Okay, I'm gonna flip some of this around because I see you just kind of just brainstorm a bit. So let's talk about which lenses do you have currently actually?
Right now, I kind of have like a hodgepodge of lenses.
Mm-hmm.
I would say the ones that I use mostly for like for like client stuff, right? Client stuff or even personal projects have mostly been um, my SLR Magic lenses. So I have I have the 25 millimeter micro prime, T1.5, and I have the 25 millimeter APO micro prime that I just got in. I have the 50 millimeter APO.
That's the
The
Hyper Prime or
the
the
hyper prime, yeah,
okay.
that was the first one actually. I got that last year on a really good deal. It was
Yeah.
like brand new, and they were selling it for like $400 off, and I was like, oh shit,
Oh
no, I should
shoot,
pick that
yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
get
was like,
that.
what the heck?
And we'll
Yeah,
definitely talk about the difference between Hyper Prime and APO and Micro Prime because a lot of people get confused about that.
yeah, definitely. They're kind of like which one is which, but I
Yeah,
mostly
yeah,
use those. I also use my Fujinon MK18 to
yeah,
55.
yeah. You do have those.
Yeah, I've been using that a lot. I've been using that less the past few months, as I felt like last year using a zoom lens, I kind of got lazy
Mm,
with my camera language, I guess you can say, because it's
yeah.
just a lot easier to zoom in. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to say that like zooms are bad. I still own like a Canon 70 to 200, because it's a lens that you never know when you're gonna use it, and it doesn't make sense for me to sell that kind of lens.
Right, right.
I have a Laowa 12 millimeter f2.8, which is Canon
Mm-hmm.
EF mount.
Mm-hmm.
Zero distortion. I've owned that lens the longest than any other lens. I owned it for like
Did you?
almost 4 years. Yeah.
Oh
So
wow.
I was doing a lot of like real estate stuff and like capturing like venues, like hotels and big spaces. And I rented it one time and I was, oh damn, this is a really nice lens. And then I rented it again and I rented it again. And I'm like, you know what? I should probably just buy this lens
Just
by
buy it.
now.
Yeah.
So I haven't had I still use it too. I still use it. Let's see what else. I have some Canon FD lenses. I have a 17 millimeter and a 28 millimeter. Just for something different, a little different flavor, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm.
And then what else? I have some Sigma Art Glass. I have an 18 to 35, pretty good all around lens. Just to, I'm actually thinking about selling my Fujinon and then just when I need to use a zoom, I have my 18 to 35.
Which one do you have for the Fujinon?
The 18 to 55.
Well, how much are you selling it for?
Dude, their price have been going down low for even brand new ones. So I've had to
Ah,
like mark because I bought it for $4,000, which is what it was
yeah,
when it came out.
yeah, yeah.
And then now, you know how Fujinon has like an actual Micro Four Thirds version of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that one actually sells brand new for 3,300, and I was like, whoa, all right.
Whoa,
So
wow.
yeah, I'm probably pricing mine down to like 2,500, twenty four
Okay,
hundred or something like that.
okay, okay. Cool.
I don't know. I mean, like, because I figure if I use that to go towards getting the rest of the 8PO Microprime set.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do I have? And then I still have the SLR Magic 35 millimeter T
T9.
1.5,
Yeah, 1.5.
T 1.4. You know
Is it the?
the small Hyperprime, the
It's
small.
1.7.
Yeah,
1.6. It's a weird 1.6. 1.6. It's a weird T stop.
yeah. But I still have that. It's super
Yeah,
small, super
it's
compact.
tiny. Yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah, I keep it because it's. I don't know, I mean, like, it doesn't make any sense for me to sell it for like $100 or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's still a nice little compact lens they just have around.
Right.
That's and then yeah, it's Canon 70 to 200 f2.8. I've had that lens for a while. I just haven't had any need to sell it.
Because you had to
And
can't use that for the 1DX, right?
yeah, I had that for the 1DX. I used it on the C100.
Mm-hmm.
I used it a couple of times on the Red Scarlet W rented.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was when I was shooting a lot, like last year, no, 2018. I was shooting a lot more like dock stuff, so a lot of like FS5, C300, C100 stuff. So having that 70 to 200 helped out a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I decided to just keep that guy, and I think
Well, you're loaded.
that's about it. Yeah, but the thing is, I have like a hodgepodge of lenses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I
Yeah.
really wanted to kind of let go of the Fujinon and
Mm-hmm.
then get an actual matching set of lenses. for
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah. That's super important because that's sort of what I'm doing. So I sold off a bunch of lenses. A lot of people were thinking I was selling it because I needed the money. I tend to when I use gear and I used it to its fullest, or if I'm not using it enough, I'm like, okay, I'll just sell it. Like I'm not attached to gear in terms of like lenses. I want to find a good set, so that could be my cinematography set.
Right.
And that's what I'm working towards now. But before it's like, I'm testing this out, see what this looks like, see what that looks like. And if I don't need it, somebody else can definitely use it. But anyway, so right now, what I personally own is the new 25 APO Microprime, and that's the EF mount. So now I bought the XL Metabones for my pocket, and that's actually been awesome to use. Because before I always used native glass. I still have my 8mm, the little tiny lens.
Oh yeah.
I've sold and bought this at least 3 times, and I'm not going to do it again because it's a great little lens for just a Micro Four Thirds sensor. It's wide enough, no distortion. It's just a unique look. So definitely keeping this for as long as I have a Micro Four Thirds camera. I still have the 18mm, and I'm trying to sell that as well. I use that mainly. That's a microprime, 18mm microprime. I use that mainly for my product stuff on my YouTube channel, and it's. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I bought it because I thought, I need a standard lens, standard focal length, because the focal length on it is like a 35-ish.
Yeah, around there.
Yeah, but I think the optics in this one, either I got a bad one or I don't know what it is, but it's very it's unpleasantly soft when it's open. Like we kind of know what the SLR Magic look is for most of these lenses, but this one just feels off, and it's fine at T4. But I don't use it enough to really justify like, I'm just going to just keep it because I'm gonna whip it out on a short film. I'm not. I'm really not. So I am going to try to sell that one, but I am going to make a review on it because there are some great things about it. So I will talk about that. But in terms of trying to use it as something that's similar to a regular 35, it's going to be that's not going to work out. But those are only. Oh, and I have the 133 anamorphics PL. So those are the lenses I have, and then I'm testing out the Fuji X mount lenses. So I have the whole set right now, and I've already made a couple videos on it already. they're a fun set to have for like an APS sensor in general, because now they come in what E-mount. Well, E-mount, that's for like full frame. They cover full frame, and then X-mount, and then MFT. But the 25-35 on the Fuji lenses, I mean Fuji cameras, are really beautiful, like really beautiful on those. But testing those out, and so then now, since I have the Metabones, I'm kind of expanding some of the options for different lenses for different scenarios, kind of like what you're doing. Because like I said, I'm just trying to build what my look is for particular things. So my short film stuff is going to have a particular look. My, everyday today YouTube content client stuff, that's going to have a particular look. So that's what I'm working towards. I do want to get, have you seen the Iron Glass, the company?
Oh yeah, they make like Cine,
the
rehoused. Yeah,
I really want the Helios 44-2 rehoused Cine set, the new one, and it's nothing like, huh?
Yeah, no, I was looking at rehoused lenses too. But they were kind of like, because I think for me, I definitely do like having. Not necessarily like heavy lenses, but heavier lenses, just to help balance out weight of the camera. Also the iris pulls, and also the focus pulls are a little bit between like that 120 and 180 degree, which is fine for me. But I was looking at like rehoused Canon FD lenses, are like $3,000 each. I was like, okay. And then like I was looking at old Canon K35s. Dude, like a whole set of those go for like 80,000 now. I'm like, holy Jesus, dude. And they're rehoused old like Canon glass from the 70s, But I was looking at the Iron Glass ones too, mostly because they're just a different alternative,
Yeah, and they're affordable in the world of rehoused lenses. The most expensive lens is the newer rehoused Helios 44-2, and that goes for about $900, because that's has a 90 front diameter, 120 or 180 degree focus throw. Comes in PL or EF mount. It has a lot of good things, but what I really the characteristic of that lens I like is how the edges are distorted in the bokeh. So that's what I want to go for my short films for a particular look. Because like with this guy, I love this lens, man. This is a solid lens. It does clean up a lot of what the micro primes lack in, and I'm using this for everything else. But I am going to be shooting a doc with this lens. That's going to be very interesting, because on the Pocket now it's roughly like a 32 millimeter focal length.
Right.
Because of the speed boost.
Yeah, I mean, like the lenses tell so much about the story, and like for me, the one thing about one reason why I'm looking at selling the Fuji MK is it's an extremely like sharp lens. Like it's extremely sharp, almost to the point where I actually don't like how sharp it is anymore. And I mean, it's still a great lens if that's the look you want, and if that's the look that you're, say, like 90% of the time that's what you want, then you want to be consistent with that. But there's certain times where I'm just like, God, this lens is so freaking sharp, man. I just wish it wasn't.
That's how I feel about the Sigma 18-35.
that lens too. Like I have to always put like some kind of diffusion in front of the 18, in front of the Sigma, any Sigma lens. I used to own like the 24 art. That was sharp as hell. I own the 18-35. I have the 35 millimeter art as well too, and I cannot use them without putting some kind of like diffusion in front of the lens, because it's so sharp, And
I guess too, just to add some clarification, because a lot of people love that lens. It's a great lens. And
18-35 or
the 18-35, or just like sharp photo lenses in general. Like kind of speaking on that in general, because there is a place for that. If you need a sharp image for whatever you're shooting with, if that's the look you're looking for too, go for it. Like nothing tearing down particular lenses, but like when we talk about lenses, we're talking about in a sense of how does the In a way, we're talking about like this is our brush and this is our canvas. How does this brush affect the look of our our canvas, what we're painting, right? So we're looking for an aesthetic, we're looking for a character, and what's unique about SLR Magic, they always had this particular. They're known for having this crazy t-stop of 0.95 on most of their hyper primes back in earlier when they first started out with like cine style lenses, and that's kind of stuck with them, and everybody either complained or loved it. It's too soft, it's too dreamy, yada yada yada. But it was a look, right? So that's one of the reasons why I kind of picked it up. I was like, okay, that's different from the Rokinon, what they're doing. That's different from what Sigma's doing. That's different from Canon, obviously. So you pick lenses because it kind of speaks to you. It has a feeling, and then you want to try to convey that feeling, whatever you're trying to put on the screen, basically, So.
Yeah, I mean, with like photo lenses, and especially like the more recent ones, like from say like 2008 and up until now, photo lenses, at least for me, so I've used the whole range of like Sigma Art Glass, Canon L Glass, Sony G Master lens when I used to shoot on Sony Alpha cameras. For me, if anything, the only thing you could really tell every now and then was maybe ones were a little bit more contrastier in the actual optics than the others.
Yeah.
But as far as like the characteristic goes, like the bokeh, to me, for the most part, seemed very, very similar. Between like say a Canon L glass and then a Sigma Art glass and then like a Sony G Master lens. Like if you ask me like what bokeh is different, it's like I don't know. They all
Can't really
kind
tell.
of
They're
look the same.
Yeah, they try to
exactly.
be perfect, right?
Yeah. They try to be perfect because in photography, that's kind of what they want. They want everything to be nice and sharp and very, very detailed. Things
Clear,
like
defined lines. How it renders the image. Yeah, absolutely. That's what they're looking for. So I was going to mention. Ooh, I just forgot.
And then and kind of to like to piggyback off of that, like if you look at cinema, whether that's like on demand streaming or in the actual movie theaters, every movie has its own characteristic, one show I've been watching recently is Altered Carbon on Netflix.
Yeah, I watched the first season.
Yeah, well, I'm still on the first season. I'm on episode 6, or I think I'm on 6. No, I'm on 7. I'm on 7 tonight.
Okay.
I'm gonna be on 7 tonight.
Okay.
And I was looking at the cinematography, and they're actually using all Canon Cine Primes.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
But the look, like they shoot everything wide open because the whole entire background just looks blobby as hell, man. Like it looks like you're floating in space like 90% of the show.
Yeah, those tighter shots, yes.
Those tighter shots is like, oh my god, I didn't even know where these people are. It's so blobby,
Yeah.
But that's a look, that's a characteristic, and we're able to do that with Canon, which is simple Canon Cinema Primes, and if you look at movies like 1917, pretty recent movie,
yeah.
Roger Deakins,
Did you watch Potato Jet's interview with the RE lens specialist?
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, that was a good one.
That was very insightful. Like I just love talking about the physics of lenses because it's fascinating. So they achieved. Obviously, they customized each lens for the liking of what they wanted to go for this movie.
Yeah, and like there's a part I think it's one of the parts where Blake and the other guy, I forget his name. It's towards the beginning of the movie, but it's that part where like they get to like some kind of like huge like ditch with water in it, and they have to go around it. And there's a part where the camera is on a crane or something like that, and it's going up, but you can tell how wide they are.
Yeah.
But how they can throw super shallow, and then all of a sudden they can rack and go deeper.
Yeah,
and
it was crazy.
Yeah, so that's the characteristic of the lens itself too.
Right.
Right. And I think that's why you and I like the SLR Magic lenses. It's not only just because of like the range of lenses and how fast they are, but it's the characteristic of like how things look super wide open, or if you're throwing down to like a 5.6 or an 8.
I have a very unpopular, I guess, liking of a particular characteristic of a lens. I like lens breathing, and the reason why, because since I love anamorphic, I'm so used to seeing the lens breathe. It's such a natural thing to me to look at now. And so when I see a lens, and of course, everything has its own. If there's a particular project that you want to have pristine, you get a lens that's pristine, minimal everything, right? But a little bit of breathing shows a little bit of humanity in my shots. Really, that's how I kind of see it, because my eyes aren't perfect. Like, I wear glasses, right? So I kind of, and this blew my mind when I forgot what cinematographer I was listening to on Cook TV, but the way
Is it Bradford Young?
No, I love Bradford, but it wasn't Bradford. He talks about focal lengths being a very humanistic characteristic of why he chooses lenses, but we can get
right.
But it was more of like how you naturally see the world. And so I took that to heart, and I'm like, okay, I really think about, how do my eyes see the world? What is my eyes? If I take off my glasses, what does the out of focus lights look like? Is it perfect? Is it jagged? Is it, I kind of look for those things. And if I want to communicate a certain thing, I want to find a lens that helps communicate that with whatever I'm trying to say. But I digress. And so when it comes to lens breathing, even though our eyes don't breathe because they're eyes, it's another, like I said, it's another characteristic of the human element I want to kind of infuse into my story or my image that I want to show. So if the lens slightly, the frame slightly zooms up or zooms down, I'm fine with that, because that's in a sense real life breathing in a way, depending what the story is. But as well as like the way this particular lens, the way it falls off on the skin is really nice, especially wide open. It's well controlled. Like, I haven't done like an extensive test yet because it's been raining here and I haven't been able to go outside as much, and I was a little ill earlier this week. But yeah, so I'm just kind of looking out for things like that, because and I love one of the characteristics of the 25 microprime T1.5 that I had, is that at T2, the image, the center of the image is super sharp. But then as soon as it gets like a few inches off the edge, it just fell off. It was just this interesting, just stretching blur. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's cool.
It's a look, yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and I think like with especially talking about like different types of lenses and like why we choose certain lenses over others, whether they breathe or they don't breathe. Like personally for me, it doesn't matter if a lens breathes or not. It's not a huge deal for me, Right. Like if a lens is breathing, it's because you're switching that focus to what you want the audience to look at, and it's a natural organic like feel to it. And also like for me, like I think the way a lens flares is also a beautiful thing. I know some people don't like lens flares at all. They think it's distracting. For me,
it sounds like a photographer mindset.
yeah, exactly. For me, I do like flares depending on what I'm going for, which is actually like the Canon FD lenses. If you stop down, like mine's are decently, they're like standard speeds, they're like a 2.8, but even at 2.8, the way they flare, it's a nice like old school cinema flare that you would get, and same thing with like the SLR Magic lenses too. So I think regardless of like, as long as you can find like lenses that work for you, and if they have like special characteristic, that's what helps to separate like your images from someone else's images, I guess.
Yeah. Very, very true. Very true. That's a huge point.
Yeah, because everyone's stuff just starts looking the same, man.
The content's the same, and then the look of it's the same, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And they throw in that orange and teal LUT. I'm like, stop. Just stop right there.
It's I don't know. Yeah, and I feel like that's why people could use different types of lenses, and
kind of the lens.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess there's nothing wrong with like any of the lenses, like the still photography lenses, but I guess at a certain point where, I guess when you're working in like the realm that you and I work in, it's different. It's we're not trying to create stuff that everyone else wants to look at.
Yeah,
we want to create very unique pieces of content.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, that was a lot.
I know.
You want to just go back to the list real quick, but that was honestly a great conversation to have all the time. I'm always, this weird side note, I'm always in this particular spot where, because if you watch a lot of filmmakers that are on YouTube, they cater to the audience that's just kind of starting out, or beginner to intermediate, and and that's good and all because a lot of people are trying to learn a new hobby, a new career, possibly. But a lot of times, the real talk of the how can I put it? Like when you're moving towards more of the narrative side or the documentary side, like most of the gear stuff kind of just fades away, and then you have to start talking about the thought process, the emotional aspect of it, the all the other elements that help create the story. Like really just talk about the story next.
Right, 100%.
And then the story is going to help you choose what gear you need. Because a lot of times I used to do this before. I would try to like, well, this is the gear I want for this story. But I'm like, and I come to find out, it's like, this is not working.
Yep.
This is not working. So it's always, once you get past the gear part of this stuff, you got to kind of flip it on its head. It's like, okay, what's my story? And then what are the tools to help me tell that story? Once you start thinking about that way, then it's going to feel more rewarding. For me, it's been more rewarding. I create a lot of little projects that I tend to not share because I'm just like, to me, I like to just build things as I go, and then once I feel comfortable to share it, I'll share it, as most artists do. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the gear ends up in the beginning can get in the way a lot of the times, you know, and you get to a certain point where, like, say if you are shooting like your own passion project or like your own short film, stuff like that, you know, like you can literally go out with what you have, or if you want to rent a piece of gear or two, then cool. But I feel like, you know, like a lot of the times people can get to like the mindset of this lens looks sharper than this lens, or this camera sensor is better than this camera sensor.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like it prevents a lot of people from getting better at making stories, you know, because you look at some content online and it's just like there is no story at all. You know, I've seen better commercials with a story than stuff on YouTube. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's actual people who are good at making stories and writing scripts.
Yeah. And telling a good story is tough. It is difficult.
Telling a good story is very very hard, and especially in my space, within the commercial space, it's extremely tough to tell a story in like less than 60 seconds, or even if you have 2 minutes, it's extremely tough, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but the gear shouldn't get in the way. It should be like, you know, use the gear that's going to help you tell a story. And
Right.
if that means renting the gear, cool. Or if that means if you have the budget to like buy a piece of gear, you know, you're going to use it like again and again and again, and cool. You know?
Absolutely. All right. Tell me, what are the differences between the microprime, the APO microprime, and the hyperprime?
I feel like the only difference is one's smaller than the other. They're also one's EF mount only which is the microprime, APO microprime.
Yeah.
And then the APO hyper prime, which
the
is
PL version.
Let me just grab the lens. Hold on.
Yeah, grab the lens. Yeah, grab the lens.
Okay. All right, here we go. This makes it better. All right, so here's the APO Hyperprime. This is like the original full-blown cinema lens, 300-degree rotation throw, covers full frame, 6K sensors. It's a T2.1, and this comes in a PL mount with an EF mount adapter. So what that means is, here's a little adapter, and then here's a PL mount. You can put it on your whatever PL mount camera you have. If you're using an EF mount, then you just put the thing back on, and you know you're good to go.
Yeah, I like that style a lot because the way it feels it's rugged. It's a rugged style for sure.
It's a very sturdy lens. I've used it a lot. I've used it on. I used it last week on a spec car shoot. I used it on a client piece. I did a couple, or back in January for a supplement company. It's a gorgeous fucking lens, man.
Yeah,
you know, it's beautiful. And
yeah.
then this is essentially the same lens, the 25 millimeter APO microprime. So the difference in size, you can tell they're one's more girthier than the other.
Yeah.
The micro prime is a 150-degree rotation throw, so
Yeah.
less than this guy. It's easier for owner operators that are just shooting handheld with a little mini follow focus or whatever.
Right.
It's the same T-stop. They're both T2.1.
Yeah, and the
little
same
T-
optics actually. They're just
Same
it's just
optics.
it's a different body style, and it's cheaper. It's almost half.
Yeah.
Yeah, a third of the price basically.
So I bought this guy for 1,200 because it's on sale right now.
Yep, I got that too.
Yeah. This guy originally, I think normally this guy is 2,100 with the EF mount.
Oh, I thought it was like
And-
25.
They're cheaper now.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
they're cheaper. Yeah, they reduced their price on 50 mil. So this originally is like 2,100 or 2,099, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
with the EF mount adapter. I bought mine for 1,400 actually because it was
Oh,
on
nice.
like some insane sale. So that's about it. I mean, they both have.
Oh wow, they're really cheap now.
Yeah, they're like 1,500 or 1,600 or something.
Yeah, well, the 50 is 1600 on
Yeah.
Adorama, and then the 32 is 2600.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's
I
a
think-
huge price difference.
Yeah, I know, huge. But they both have a 82 millimeter front thread, so you can put on your 82 millimeter filters, whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Micro Prime has an 85 outer diameter, whereas the Hyper Prime has a 95 outer diameter.
Yeah.
So different size for matte boxes. That's about it, though. Yeah, I mean, they both cover full frame sensors,
Yeah.
which is great. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I know the APO Micro Prime covers 8K full frame.
Mm-hmm.
I tested it out on the Zcam full frame 8K cameras. It was quite beautiful.
Yeah.
I made videos on all of them. Though I find the balance of this lens, the 25 APO, a little weird because it feels
Kind of front heavy.
yeah, it's very hollow right here,
Yeah.
and you can feel all the glass elements right here. So it's a very it's unbalanced.
Yeah, I know. For me, like the Hyper Prime is very balanced. Like in my
Yeah,
hand, it feels
yeah.
like okay, cool.
Mhm.
And then when you put the Micro Prime in, it feels, it just kind of feels like all the weight is like right
Mm-hmm.
here,
Right
which
up
is-
here. Yeah.
Yeah, just interesting, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of like in a weird situation because like I've only shot on like maybe one or two cameras that are peel mount. That's just because that was a camera package that we had rented.
Mm-hmm.
90+% of the time I'm shooting on a camera that can use EF glass, right? Whether that's like an FS7 or a
Yeah.
or a C300, which I've shot on the ton.
Mhm.
Like it's always been some kind of speed booster or the C300. It just takes EF mount, you know.
Yeah.
So for me, it makes more sense to go with this guy,
Yeah.
even though it's nice to have a peel mount, but it's like I rarely use peel mount cameras though. You know, that's just
Exactly,
not the line
yeah.
of work that I do.
Do you have the 6K or the 4K still?
The 4K, man. Yeah, people ask if I bought the 6K. I'm like, I don't really see any need for me to have
Yeah.
6K.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
I don't need 6K at all.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so are you using a speed booster with the PL adapter EF for the Hyper Prime?
I am.
How does that work out?
It looks fine to me. At
Oh,
least
okay,
for
so you still have Infinity? Because I'm just saying that's a lot of, because if you have the Metal Bones adapter to the E-mount adapter to the PL, it doesn't create any more space? You don't lose any Infinity or?
Not that I can. Well, actually, I don't have the Metabones adapter. I have the Viltrox adapter.
Oh, okay. Well,
So
I mean,
I-
either way, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean with the Viltrox, so you just rotate the actual internal lens to get infinity on lenses.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so I haven't had any issues with this guy at all with infinity focus or close focus, anything like that.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean I think that's like the main. Yeah, I mean the only difference is like, you know, a little bit smaller, different physical size, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
cheaper, very much more affordable.
Yeah.
And you know, I had someone comment that like, you know, even $1,200 is a lot of money, and I'm like, well, if you look at it, if you look at
Really?
like Zeiss lenses, like photography
Yeah,
lenses,
yeah.
like the Baddest lenses or the Milvis lenses or the Otis lenses, you're paying like $3,000-$4,000 sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah,
Canon-
when people, yeah.
Canon L glass, like I remember like my like I bought my 70 to 200 used for $800 because it's
Nice.
the first
Oh, the
generation.
first version. Yeah. Okay.
They have 3 versions of it now. Dude, that lens brand new is like $2,800.
Yeah, exactly. So like people, I think what people are doing, because they say that to me is like, man, you say this is affordable. It's $1,100, $1,200. Well, I'm like, well, think of it this way. Well, a lot of people associate SR Magic as the cheap budget lens, right? They put that with Rokinon and whatnot. But now they have this higher tier with the hyper prime APOs and now the micro prime APOs. You have to put that in the talk of like Zine, right? Zine and Irix. What's some other cine lenses in this price range?
That like 13 $1,500
$1,300,
range.
$1,500 range. Yeah.
I would say Zine is probably the only one.
Is it the only
you
one?
know? Yeah, I
there's
mean, like
another.
their lenses go for like their cinema primes go for like $1,500 now, which is pretty
Yeah,
cheap.
you're right. Yeah.
Because you
Yeah,
have to
so-
go into like Zeiss.
Yeah, they're around the same price. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, they're more. They're more. So these the newer Zine Rokinon zines go for $1,700.
Oh, the carbon fiber ones.
Oh,
the
sorry,
CF?
no. So no. So
Oh, okay.
The older ones go for $1,700, $1,800,
Gotcha.
and the new ones go for $2,500. So
Yeah.
like even that. So like if you're in this cinematography space and you're looking at lenses, you really should compare. Actually, I'm going to have to rent the new Zine just to compare it to the APOs because I think the optics to me with the Rokinon lineup, it's okay.
Yeah,
I feel
I've used the Rokinons or the Zine. I've used them both. I've used the small Rokinons and I've used the Zine, like the 114 millimeter diameter ones.
Yes, yeah. I've had the
And-
35. I used the 35 from the Canon.
Yeah, and like for me, they're fine lenses. They're not
Yeah,
they're not
yeah.
anything. I don't know. To me, they're not anything special.
Yeah, I wonder
They're-
what the
but they're solid
difference
lenses.
is with the CF line now. The Zine CF, the newer ones.
I believe they're supposed to be lighter weight because they're the carbon fiber.
Oh, okay.
So it's lighter weight. I think they cover. I think they cover full frame.
okay. I
'Cause
think
I'm pretty
Shane Helbert had. Did I say his name right? His last
Shane
name?
Hurlbutt.
Yeah, he has. I think he has a comparison video with the two. I think I watched
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I mean
But,
that's pretty much like about it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean after like $2,500 and you're going into like Sigma Cine lenses,
Cine
Canon
lenses, yep,
Cine
yeah,
lenses,
Yeah. So
the realm of
really-
like Cook lenses. And,
Yeah, really, you're in. So this pricing tier that the SLR Magic APO microprimes are in, it's really like a special premium because you're getting quality glass at an affordable price compared to the next tier, which is the Zine, basically. So
if anything, I think you're getting more character because I've shot on the Zines before and like they're pretty much just like they're still lenses.
yes,
Except they have focus markings, they have witness markings, they have
yes.
declick the aperture.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people tend to say that there is a difference. When I've used it, I have the 24 and the 50 with me now. I'm testing those out. Not the Zines, it's their DS Cine line.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then in comparing it to what I've shot with the 35 Zine, like I don't see there isn't a difference. Like it flares the same, it breathes the same, it's the same amount, the bokeh is the same. Like it's the same characteristics. It might be I think there's a slightly different coating because I think one of the lenses is cooler than the other.
Yeah.
But the contrast level is pretty much the same too.
It's actually the same thing with Canon Cine primes and Sigma's Cine primes. They're basically just rehoused Sigma Art and Canon L glass, just so that you can use it in a professional setup with like same size lenses, same witness marking, same iris location, which is important for like a first AC or for a focus puller, or if you're doing gimbal work, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I never really bought. Bless you.
Excuse me. Thank you.
That's why I never really bought or had any intention of buying like the Sigma or the Cine or the Canon Cine primes, is because like if I'm paying for the same optics, I'd rather just get the still glass and pay less.
Yeah,
and just
just
make
modify it later. Put the
Yeah, just
rings
modify
in.
it later. Yeah. Yeah.
So, oh yeah. I don't know if you hear the baby in the background.
I hear. Yeah.
Oh, she's teething.
Oh man.
So we have here extremely affordable lens. We're kind of hitting all the points right now. Um, I guess what most people would love to know too is like, the question of low light and depth of field. We kind of touched on it a
Oh,
little bit. Low light, I, I feel like when people, I should say this, when the tier of, oh, hold on, we have
okay.
a what's the thing called, noise sound maker for the baby to sleep, and it turns on
Oh,
at 7 o'clock. It's like white noise. I don't mind it when I want to go to sleep, but during the day it bugs me.
oh yeah, for sure. It's because it's going
Yeah.
off and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to do my best not to overgeneralize groups of people, but those who are looking for like a very shallow, want to shoot everything wide open. Those
Hmm.
those people, right? Um, uh, in this, oh sorry, who wants to shoot everything wide open, especially in low light conditions? And low light varies from a lot of different variables. There's night shooting with just available practicals, one lamp. Like there's a lot of different situations on how you control low light. Low light doesn't mean no light. Don't try to shoot in the dark.
Hmm.
um, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to finding out how the lens performs, the lens and camera, because it's not just the lens at this point. When you try to figure out those things, you kind of just push it through its paces and see what's acceptable to you. Don't go off of what other people's opinions are, because their taste is going to be different from yours. Um, so that's kind of my take on it. Now that being said, it is a T 2.1. It's slow for others. It's fast enough for other people too. So it's going to be 50-50 most of the time until you test it out yourself. And really, like when it comes to low light, like when I have such mixed emotions when people talk about low light, because it gets annoying sometimes, because they'll say, "Oh man, this is terrible in low light," and I'm looking at the scene, I'm like, "Well, there's no light in it."
Yeah, I think you're right. People confuse low light with no light,
Yeah,
and I want to say it's because it's the majority of people who are consuming content on YouTube
yeah,
really don't work in like professional settings.
yeah.
They're very, very just grab your camera, shoot for someone,
Mm-hmm.
whether that's a wedding or which, again, weddings in itself are like no light slash available light. You got to use
Mm-hmm.
with what you got,
Mm-hmm.
which is totally, I understand that. Then you might want to be shooting on like a Sony A7 III and crank up the ISO and all that kind of stuff,
Right.
but again, you could shoot it in a very beautiful way instead with lights,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
and yeah, and I feel like when you say low light, it's got to be either like something like this where there's just like practical light
Mm-hmm.
around you,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to stay at the camera's native ISO, whatever native ISO that is. But I mean, I've seen commercials where like they've shot like on like Zeiss super speeds that are like a T1 point whatever it is,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and they even have to put ND in front of the camera because they're shooting
It's
so
just
wide
too much.
open.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, so that being said, a T2.1 for me is fine.
Mm-hmm.
If it was faster, cool, but at that point, I feel like you really should get better at cinematography as a whole, not just your technical knowledge of like a camera and a lens and stuff like that, but lighting, like you have to learn how to light.
Yeah.
You have to learn
Exactly.
where to put your lights. You have to learn what kind of lights you need, and in that case, you can shoot in all kinds of low light scenarios with a
Mm-hmm.
T2.1 lens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's really defining what what are you filming exactly, right? If it's an event, like most of us would do starting out, you shoot different events and whatnot, and you don't own any lights, and you're only going to be using what's available. You're kind of stuck with the whims of the limitations of the camera and the lens. So I get that. But if you're moving towards what we're trying to do, commercial or narrative and doc, there is a certain extent where you plan certain scenes, or you plan enough where you know the situation and what you're coming into. So then you plan accordingly. Pre-production is going to be your absolute best friend when it comes to doing things consistently and on a professional level.
100%, yeah.
100%. You cannot move forward with an idea if you don't pre-produce it first, or just talk about what the idea is to figure out the floor plan of what you're doing.
Yeah,
So
because then in pre-production, that's when you figure out, okay, where, what are we shooting, where are we shooting it, how long do we have to shoot it, and based upon that, okay, cool, what's our budget for lighting, what's our budget for camera, and if you're using your own stuff, then you got to use your own stuff,
Right.
But yeah,
Right.
there hasn't been a time last year that I shot. I didn't really do a lot of like high ISO stuff last year, like ISO 1250 or higher than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I shot like a music video earlier in January in Las Vegas. That was super run and gun. That was the only time that I actually used anything higher than ISO fucking 400 in the year that I've owned this camera.
Sheesh. Man,
I
I've
just
pushed. No, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I mean, I haven't had a need. If anything, I've needed to freaking put ND in front of my camera or adjust my lighting, But yeah, when you're shooting a running gun in the middle of Las Vegas, like you gotta go up to ISO 1200 or whatever you're at,
I've pushed my camera to all extremes so far. I've shot all the way up to 6400. I've shot the latest stuff, like the dance stuff I've been doing, like most of the lighting's dim lit, just kind of accent lights or gels or whatever that's happening. And so I'm around probably like 12. I just keep it at 1250 because I know that's going to be my cleanest base ISO. And then thank God for RAW when I do say, okay, probably at 2000 is going to be what I want to keep it at. And then I adjust from there. So I have that flexibility. But the way I use ISO with the Pocket is, if I know what the lighting scenario is coming in, I'll set it to 800 or I'll set it to 1250 and kind of go from there. So, that's too oversimplifying it. Aperture and all the other things, but relatively, well-lit scenes, I'm at 800, and then darker scenes, I'm at 1250 just to start.
Yeah. It's interesting when you do have fast glass and you have enough light. You can do a lot with the settings of the camera and like the settings of like the lenses, but you gotta like be able to trust your equipment. Like I could have shot a bunch of the stuff that I had last year on any lens, whether that's the Sigma 18 to 35 or smaller, like my smaller SLR Magic lenses, But for me, I there's something about the character of like the APO lenses that it makes it feel much more organic, and it doesn't make it feel like you're watching a video.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's, and shooting wide open, whatever. Like I like shooting wide open if I can. If I'm doing a close-up or something like that, I love shooting wide open. Other than that, if I'm at a 2.8 or something on a wider lens, fine. Like not a huge. I'm not like attached to that, but just the way these lenses look.
Yeah.
When you're editing and when you're color grading and then when you see the full final export, it doesn't look like you're watching a video, and that's very, 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 very important to me.
Yeah, the softness of this lens, of this particular lens, it aids to it because it helps the transition between. Well, it helps the fall off really. It's not as stark because like one thing I don't like when putting diffusion on front of like the Sigma 18 to 35. I can tell that like it's competing, like it starts to bloom, the highlights bloom and whatnot, but then you're looking at the edges and the edges are fairly still sharp, and I just don't like that. I don't like that just competing with each other.
Right. I see what you mean. Yeah,
you know what I mean? So if I throw diffusion on this lens, it just aids it even more. It's not competing anything. It's kind of just like, it's lessening a lot now. So that's the big difference with any SLR Magic lens, I think, is if you put diffusion on it, you're not going to see a competing image between something trying to be bloomy and creamy and sharpen with the edge. It kind of just falls together. That's what I've noticed when shooting with it. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a telltale sign that like lenses really do make the image next to lighting. Lighting, absolutely, and your lens choices, and then you put a. If you have like superior lighting and you have really, really high optics, you can use all sorts of cameras. and get amazing quality. You know, whether it's I've seen some beautiful stuff shot on a Canon 7D.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know,
That's
I've
what-
seen yeah, I've seen amazing stuff shot on a 5D Mark III. I've seen amazing stuff shot on FS5.
Yeah.
You know, like it really comes down to like your choice of the lens, how you use the lens, and the way you light a scene, whether that be all natural light or if you're actually using your own means of artificially lighting a scene.
Yeah, absolutely. Question on your lens is how's your focus throw? Is it?
It's tight, dude.
It's
It is
tight.
tight.
It's a little
tight,
stiff.
dude.
It's stiff. Yeah.
I have to use a follow focus because it's so tight. My
Yeah.
lens starts to move in the camera.
Yeah.
It's super. Well, you know what's tighter is the freaking aperture.
Yeah. The
That thing
actual
does
ring, the
not
T-style ring-
move.
Yeah. It's a very narrow. Like I like how wide the gear set
Yeah.
is for the focus ring, but the T-stop ring is very narrow.
Yeah, because if you
And-
look at like the hyper prime, it's a little bit wider.
Mm-hmm.
The aperture ring.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this one, it feels like it'll cut you, man. It feels like it'll
it's
cut you.
it's prickly, yeah. So I mean, here's what I think about the focus throw. It does take like, especially if you have a smaller follow focus. I have a large hand, so I have to tilt a mini follow focus, and so turning it does take some effort because one, you have it's a smaller knob to turn. And it's a very tighter ring. So if I'm not within the range that I know I'm going to be filming in, it takes a minute for me to fish.
Oh,
to see where
gotcha,
I go.
gotcha.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But I wish they did keep the sizing of the rings consistent, because if
Yeah,
I want
I
to
do
throw
too.
on like a Nucleus Nano or something, or the M, like I feel like this is going to slip. But I haven't tested it. I'm not sure about it. But like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel. It feel like it needs to be consistent with both of this. That's one design I would say could be improved, but
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the only gripe I really had was just the aperture ring is very well. One, it's super stiff, which it's not a huge thing, but
yeah,
it's,
at least you don't knock it. If you hit it, if you're going like if you're filming with just your hand on this, you know
Yeah.
something's not going to move extreme for sure.
exactly. Because like this past weekend, one of my good friends, he's a DP also, Luke DeJoris.
Oh yeah,
I've shot a ton of stuff with Luke as his AC and his gaffer, and he owns a set of the Rokinon, the DS.
Yeah, and that's
lenses.
super loose,
It's so fucking loose, dude. Half the time, I don't even know what freaking.
bro.
I'm like,
if
dude,
you
are you
breathe on it?
What
if you
T-stop are you
breathe
at
on
right
it,
now?
it's gonna move.
It just feels like it's just like. It's just
like,
it's so flimsy.
It's
Yeah,
it's
it just
plastic.
moves like crazy.
Yeah, it's
I'm not a fan of that design.
I'm not either. They were just trying to give the people what they wanted.
Yeah, I guess so, but yeah,
Yeah,
you know, like
if you're
for-
not
for-
careful, you will just like knock it and it's gonna
Yeah.
move to like a 2.8 or 4 or something.
Exactly. But for me, yeah, because I have the PD Movie Live Air as my wireless follow focus,
Yeah.
and with that, the thumb controller, it's a lot easy to like. I can just literally just do this to like rack focus when I'm operating with myself, you know. So, but if I had like an actual manual follow focus, this would be a little bit. Yeah, you kind of have to play around with it, you know, to get that right focus range that you're normally in, you know.
But longer focus throws are definitely a plus. You have
Mm-hmm.
more precision and more accuracy. I don't like focusing with photo lenses. It's too short, and I hate
Yeah.
when you like with the Sigma. I keep referring to the Sigma, but like once you're turning, you feel the stopper, but then of course
It keeps moving.
keeps
Yeah.
going, right? So it's like it's not as precise. I'm not as quick. It's funny. I'm not as fast on a photo lens that I am with a cine lens. And it's
Yeah.
funny because the shorter focusing distance, you think you'll be faster because you don't have to go much travel. But I'm so used to knowing the distance that I'm in and staying within that distance, and I can just make micro
Yeah.
adjustments, you know?
Well, that's the thing with photo lenses is because, you know, with autofocus, they're designed to just go
Yeah,
in between. They stop. And so when you're focusing, you're like, why am I out of focus? You're like, you're trying to fish around. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But hey, I had back in the day that nifty 50 from Canon, man. That
Oh, yeah?
that little ring.
Dude, yeah, I used to own the 50. What was it? The 1.8?
The 1.8, the 1.8, yeah.
1.8? Yeah, I used to own
I
that lens, man.
I went through like 5 of them because they broke
Are
so
you-
easily.
Are you serious?
I did. I went through 5. They were cheap at the time too. They're only $100 or so.
Yeah,
you get them
yeah,
cheaper.
yeah.
You get them cheap for like $80 or $60, right? but I went through 5 of them.
5 of them.
Yeah, it's terrible. Two of them were my fault because I was careless, but the other two I let people use, and then they'll come back with a ding, or the gear stopped working, or they'll try to over. Anyway, yeah, I've been
that's
through
crazy,
5.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen like a good amount of YouTube comments. Also, people asking like, can I just buy some old budget lens like for $50? I'm like, yeah, you can.
Yeah, you
And
could.
if you're just starting off, I think that's totally fine. Like, just use cheap gear when you're just starting off to understand like what the heck everything does.
Yeah, because you start to build what you look for. You start
Yeah.
to build your own understanding of like, okay, I like this versus like that. So
Yeah, exactly. And it gets to a certain point where you start progressing, where the demands of the jobs change. Where like I haven't been on a job yet where they've requested specific gear. But there are times where I will need specific gear because of like the nature of the job.
yeah,
But when it comes to lenses, like, yeah, I haven't, like, I've used like Cook S4 minis were probably the most expensive lenses I've used, but those are pretty standard in commercial cinematography. Other than that though, like, I haven't used like the huge like Panavision Primo fucking lenses, or
No,
like
yeah,
the
me neither.
Arri
Yeah.
Signature Prime. That's just way out of my range.
Yeah. You'll have to go to a rental store to even get your hands on that thing.
Exactly.
Which I
So,
plan to do so because I want to try it.
yeah, and like for the rest of us, or for the majority of us, I would say like, yeah, like as long as you can find a lens that you like, whether that is a Zeiss lens or SLR Magic lens or a Sigma lens, I think you have to figure out like the look of the lens, and then also the focal lengths that are offered, and if you need a lens that's faster than like a T2, or if a T2.1 is fine. But for me, like, a T2.1 number one is fast enough for me. That's really,
Absolutely.
I don't need
Yep,
any more than that.
Yep.
Having a shorter focus throw 150 degrees is perfectly fine for me as an owner operator, since I'm pulling my own focus like 99% of the time. And then, having a lens with character means like everything else, because that's the image itself.
Yeah.
That to me is number one. So that's why I mean, I still own photo lenses. I own, well, I guess Canon FD lenses can be considered photo lenses because those are like, full frame lenses.
Yeah,
But they even have a character themselves though. Whereas like my Sigma Art lenses compared to like my Canon 70 to 200 lens, like they look very, very similar. I think one's just more contrasty than the other. But other than that, like if you put them side by side, looks the same.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's all I have. You wrapped it up well.
I try, man. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, it brings people more value and like why we use SLR Magic lenses.
Yeah,
if I didn't like them, I wouldn't have spent my own money buying
Exactly.
thousands of dollars worth of lenses.
We've been through a lot of their lenses, bro.
Yeah, I've been through like the old. I used to have like the 25, the tiny one, the
Yep,
0.95.
I had the 25, I had the 50, I had the 35, I had.
Yeah, I still own the 35. Yeah.
Yeah, I sold them all too.
Yeah.
Those are.
But
I love using those lenses on the GH5.
Yeah, I mean, because the lenses they just had character to them that I just couldn't get from like when I used to have like Tamron lenses, which are perfectly good photo lenses. I used to own Canon L glass more than what I have right now. Sigma Art glass, they're all fine lenses for what they do. But when it came to like the image making process, I felt like the most organic and cinematic stuff that I've shot were with SLR Magic lenses.
Yeah. Yep. That's very true. Very, very true. Well, it's been an hour. Can you believe that?
That's been around already? Damn.
Yeah, it's been an hour.
That's a good talk, man. That's
It's
some good talking
talk.
right there.
It's a great talk.
That's a great talk right there.
Oh, bro.
Oh, man.
So what you got planned for the rest of the week?
Whole lot of nothing, man, which is unfortunate. So I've edited the last few things I needed to.
Yeah.
If anything, I'm just catching up on some reading. So I've been reading. I got this book a while ago, but I'm just catching up on it.
Okay.
It's from Andrei Tarkovsky. He's an old Russian filmmaker.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm reading this huge ass book.
Nice.
Catching up on that.
I've been
catching
trying
up-
to catch up on movies.
Me too. Yeah, I've been catching up on some Netflix shows, some movies as well. Watching some old movies that I never
Yeah.
had a chance to watch.
Yeah, same.
Exercising, just trying to stay in shape, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, just thinking of more YouTube content to film and edit. So
Yeah, I've been in a funk lately, but I'm trying to jumpstart again because I have a lot. I do have a lot to do. That's the thing about it. I kind of want to do nothing, so I've been doing nothing for a bit. But I think we're blessed to still be able to do what we love to do in this time of just uncertainty. But
yeah,
I appreciate you, bro. Always
too, man.
down to talk.
Always 100%.
Eventually we'll get to see each other. It's been 2 years.
I know. Once this damn quarantine gets lifted, then for sure, man.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, for sure.
I know. But I was planning on going to NAB with a couple of buddies, but that got
Yeah, I was planning
canceled.
too.
And I was like, all right. And then so my hopes is like, I don't even know if Cine Gear is still happening with the way things are going. They haven't said anything, but
Oh, they haven't. Oh, because it's in late.
It's in June.
It's in June, right? Mid-June, right?
Yeah, but I figure by like end of April they'll probably say something if it's gonna be canceled or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Depending on when quarantines will be lifted and stuff like that. Because
Well, it really depends on if this bell is going to flatten. The
that's
curve,
true.
sorry, I keep saying
If the
bell,
curve, yeah, if the curve starts to,
yeah.
if the curve starts to flatten, then that'll be a big indicator of how like the whole nation, the whole world will respond to it all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but yeah, than that, I don't know, man. Just still trying to keep up to date with everything, and I just can't wait to start filming content again for clients, man.
Yeah.
Gotta bring in the bills too.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, fam. Well,
All right, man.
I guess we can just wrap this up. I guess we just wrapped it up, actually.
Yeah.
Do we have a proper send-off? If you guys have more questions,
Let us know.
let us know.
Send us a DM. Hit us up on
Yeah.
YouTube. Hit us up on Instagram. Every which way you can, man.
Yeah. And we'll leave all the links in the description so you'll find us.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, man.
Talk to you
I'll
later.
catch you soon. Peace.
Yep. Bye.